Welcome to the David and the Bear podcast. Let's have a good time. Yes, sir. All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the David and the Bear podcast. I'm here with my homeboy, Jacob. He's a facilities operation coordinator at the Orion Amphitheater. I met him about 2 years ago. No, that we've been solid on. I think
Now
3, right?
about a year and a half.
A year and a half. I feel like we've been.
I haven't even worked here for 2 years yet.
So about a year and a half. Then year and a half.
Like,
he's an amazing person, gamer, just much like me, much like myself.
yes, sir.
And without further ado, Jacob.
Going on.
Just another day, another dollar. You know what I'm saying? Keeping it easy. So do you wanna start off on a high, or do you want to start off on a low and then climb to the high point?
I feel like we got to start out high. I got some energy right now.
Oh, for sure, man, for sure. What are you passionate about?
What am I passionate about? Well, it's probably pretty obvious. I'm passionate about music, as is
Right.
a lot of your other guests so far. Music has been what's drove me for the past probably 4 or 5 years of my life. It's something I can always go to, whether I'm alone or at work. It just motivates me and keeps me pumped up. And even when I'm down, music can help me get back up. If you know what I mean.
So where do you think your passion of music came from?
It's a good question. Probably I'd say high school, when I got my first set of AirPods. And just because I did not enjoy school, I did not enjoy being at school, I did not enjoy talking to people at school. So put the AirPods in, drown everything out, listen to some tunes, and got through the day pretty easy.
Now the brother just talked to everybody now.
Exactly.
So I guess we can dip down to a low real quick. What do you think is one of your biggest challenges in life?
Biggest challenges recently
Or of just all time?
Yeah, I guess for a while, big challenges have always been battling my own mind, as I'm sure most everybody has that challenge. But just the fight with yourself has always been a big part of me, and trying to find self-confidence and find love in myself, which is very hard to do because I'm so hard on myself, because probably because my parents weren't hard on me. And I just think I tried to hold myself to a higher standard, hold myself to high expectations. And that can be good for me. It can drive me to success, but it's also mentally very challenging.
Well, I guess one of those things too that can turn into a very toxic relationship with yourself, to be honest.
Of course.
Overbear yourself, type of thing. So I guess going through, those mental battles, what do you think is a important lesson that you learned from that, or just in life in general?
Just that you have to stay present in this world, and it's very hard in this world, in this day and age, with social media and
for sure.
Every time you look at it, you get envious of other people's lives, even though they're having the same problems as you, most likely. And it's like you see everything on the internet. It's like, man, how did these people find the success? I mean, did they have to work that hard? They just got this, but you don't see the years and years of work they put in. And I think that's where I'm at right now. I think I'm trying to put the work in, and I'm trying to be okay with putting the work in and not seeing the results just yet.
Talk about social media. I know for a while, you had deleted social media? How did that feel for you?
Oh, complete 180. I mean, of course, I still have problems. It's not
Oh, for
just you do
sure.
and it's all daisies and sunshine. But after I deleted, especially TikTok, any app that has scrolling,
Mm.
where you're just scrolling 15 seconds, you're getting a laugh, and then the next one you get pissed off because someone has a different political view than you. You go into the comments and you're like, who the hell is this person talking about this? And it's all fake. It's all not reality.
Mm.
And that can really strain someone's mind. It can alter your brain chemistry actually. And so once I deleted it, I found it's funny. Once I deleted it, I found a lot more boredom because we've trained our minds to not be bored with technology. And so that's another challenge I'm facing is trying to find out how to be okay with being bored.
Mm.
And that goes back to um, fighting with yourself because when you're bored, you're just thinking. You're thinking thoughts about yourself and how you can be better. So that's kind of where I'm at actually right now in life.
So I guess flipping that on his head on like in regards to like social media and all that kind of stuff. Now that you know we're taking time away from it, what gives your life meaning?
Relationships,
Mm.
mostly work relationships, as you probably know. I do most of my talking and communicating with people at work.
Valid.
Uh, um, trying to grow my relationship with my parents and my siblings, step by step, very slowly. Um, Again, music gives me a big meaning. I picked up guitar about 3 years ago. I'm still struggling with that thing, but that's a fight that is good for my brain. Um, yeah, just really relationships is the number one thing that is keeps me going because
Mm.
who are we without other people? You know.
That's fair. So in I guess in those strained relationships between like your siblings and your parents, like how do you feel that's affected you, whether in a good way or a bad way? Or do you feel like there was no effect at all?
Oh, there's no. My family has definitely affected me, Devon.
Hmm.
Um, just to give you a backstory that you know some of this. I'd say right about the time I got my car when I turned 16, I got that first taste of freedom, that first taste of friendship with people my own age. Before I got my car, I saw my friends at school and everything, but I never really hung out with them. But then
Mm.
when I got my car, I felt the need to go out and hang out with them. And I didn't surround myself with the best people in high school. Um, so I started experimenting a little, and that led to pretty bad abuse of drugs and alcohol. And then once my parents found out, that's when stuff started going downhill pretty quickly. Now, my parents, to give you a little background on them, they have zero, absolutely zero experience with drug abuse and alcohol.
Mm.
I believe their grandfathers were alcoholics, but that's about the closest they've seen to what it can do to a person. Um, and so the first time I got smoking weed or got caught smoking weed, um, it's my mother broke down. My dad was freaking out. They thought I was gonna die in the next week or something. A little bit of pot, and I think because they reacted so crazily over that, I think it like drove me to be more rebellious.
Mm. That's
Just
fair.
to like, I don't know what it was, but I almost enjoyed the feeling of being caught
Mm.
and probably because I got so much attention from them at that point and just to see them worried about me, I
Mm.
guess. But and I just really liked drugs at the time. They really, I mean, everyone has their own issues with drugs and
Oh, for
substance.
sure.
But I started pretty early, around 16, 17 years old is when that started turning into weed and turning from weed into pills and other substances that most people don't do or most successful young people don't do. Um,
Well, I feel like it's one of those things where it's like everybody has their own addiction, type of
Mhm.
thing. Whether it's like, the hardcore stuff, like the drugs, the pills, and all kind of stuff, or even if it's like, even for like us now, like video games. Video games is
One
probably like one of biggest addictions that we have.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think I think after a while it almost turns into one of those things like some things are healthy, but like that saying, too much of a good thing comes out to be a bad thing. So even
Oh,
if
yeah.
it's like a healthy addiction of like, oh, like being a gym rat, for instance,
Mhm.
everybody, oh yeah, going to the gym is good for you. But then once that thing, I guess, becomes your identity, it's almost like without it, you're nothing.
Yes. Everything in moderation, as my dad tells me.
Yeah. So I guess coming from, 16, 17-year-old self to um where we're at now, because we're like roughly about the same age. Um, if you could tell your if you could tell young Jacob Guthrie something, what would it be?
I don't know if I'd tell him anything.
Mm,
I think young Jacob Guthrie had to go through those things to get where he is now.
mm,
Not saying I've made it out on the other end perfect and I'm doing 100% amazing all the time, but I'm very blessed to have gone through what I gone through at such a young age and to have parents that care enough to go to the extremes.
mm,
Even I thought that maybe it was a little too extreme, but better than not having the type of parents that just say, "Okay, keep keep screwing up." So I wouldn't tell him a thing because I wouldn't be where I am now. I wouldn't be at work. I wouldn't because I would probably still be at Polaris driving a forklift, moving boxes around. Because if it wasn't for my substance abuse, my parents wouldn't have made me quit that job to go to rehab.
mm.
That it was just searching to search until I found this place. So I think I was meant to do that. I think I was meant to mess up at a young age so I could end up where I am now.
Mm.
So I think telling myself something when I was younger could have altered that. And I don't think I'd want to be somewhere else right now. I think I'm right where I want to be.
That's fair. And then tapping back into, the young Jacob, and then looking at like your friend groups now and the friends that you used to have. What do you think are the most important qualities of a friend that you look for?
Important qualities of a friend. That's hard for me to say even now because I'm still working on friendships.
Hmm.
Now, some of those friends I've had from high school, I still communicate with,
Oh,
just
for
because
sure.
that small group of people are the only people I've talked to my own age since I was in middle school. And actually, over the past year, most of them are, in college. But my best friend Ryan, he actually moved away to Florida this
Mm,
winter. So he was really the only person I actually hung out with. And he was a pretty good friend. We had some deep conversations. We both had our own little traumas and little sit down by the fire and have a beer and talk about.
felt that.
And but a quality of a friend that I'd like is someone that pushes me,
Mm.
someone that lets me know that I'm messing up and not just says, "Oh boy, here he goes again."
Feel like that's one
Someone,
of those things too that if you can't tell your friend that they're messing up, y'all ain't real friends, to be honest.
yeah, we're just enablers at that point.
On it. So who inspires you?
Who inspires me? Of course, my father inspires me. He never really showed me how to be tough, but he did show me how to be sensitive
Mm.
and how to be caring and loving, especially to another woman, which is why I think relationships are such a big part of me.
Oh, for sure.
Um, but on the vice versa of that statement, I think actually Joe Wolf, as you know,
Mm. Brother
is,
Joe.
is a, he's a great man who actually inspires me a lot. And I don't really tell him this, but he's over the past year and a half after working here, those who don't know, he's the security director here at the Orion Amphitheater.
Mhm,
Um, he's actually showed me what it's like to be tough and how to be
mhm.
tough and how to be a quality man,
Oh, for sure.
loving and caring at the same time.
And I feel like he also shows how to be tough without being overbearing.
Oh yeah,
You know
oh
what I'm
yeah.
saying?
He's got the perfect balance of
Oh, 100%.
when it's time to get when it's time to get tough, it's time to get tough, but when it's
Mhm,
time to chill out and just be someone that you can talk to and have some especially have someone who can listen to you.
mhm.
He has all those qualities, man.
So working in the the music industry, can't even English right now. Working in the music industry and like we're dealing with large crowds like all the time.
Hmm.
If you could send a message to a large group of people, first, who would those people be? And then second, what would your message say?
If I could say something to a group of people who are just scared about the future and what it holds,
Mhm.
the future's scary right now.
Oh, for
And
sure.
with what's all going on in the news and back to social media again and the effects it's having on young people's
Hmm.
minds, I, I would like to just say, take a break and be bored.
Mm.
Don't
Be
try,
bored.
don't try to entertain yourself 24/7 or you'll drive yourself crazy.
That's fair.
Find find what it means to be okay to just sit with yourself. And I'm still working that on that too.
Too heavy. Can't pick that up right there. Too heavy. Just leave it on the ground. Leave it on the ground. So the next question is a fun question I like to ask everybody. What's your
Hmm.
theme song and why?
My theme song. Oh, that's a hard question for a music junkie because I never keep listening to the same song over and over every day.
I guess what song like I guess painting the picture is you watch baseball, right?
Hmm. Sometimes.
Next up at bat, Jacob Guthrie. What song, please?
Oh boy, what song plays? The song that plays in my mind. Let's see. If I'm feeling pumped up and ready, probably "Away from the Mire" by Billy Strings.
Mm,
Love that. I think that's one of the best songs that's been written over the past decade or two. If you really sit down, the music and instrumentals of that song are great, but if you actually sit down and listen to the lyrics, it has some pretty deep stuff in it. Um, so that's a good one. Sit down and feel sorry for yourself song would probably be "The Night We Met" by Lord Huron. I
mm,
always go for that song. It's very good. It's very good. It's very slow. It's very emotional, and it puts me in a better mood when I'm feeling bad.
felt that. I guess tapping back kind of tapping back into your taste in regards to like music and you know, seen seen you post a couple of videos with one of our very own Adam, you know, seen you post up a couple of those videos. How's that been going? And like where do you I guess where do you envision that taking you to?
It remind me of what videos with Adam? Are you talking
I
about?
think I think it was you no, Adam had posted on his I think it was on his page.
Oh, he
Maybe not a
posted.
video, but
I didn't even.
it was a picture. It was a picture
Oh,
with you and him in a studio, I believe.
playing guitar. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Um, yeah, he's actually here right now working for me.
Mm,
Uh, a couple weeks ago, we got together and hung out and played guitar for a little bit. Just jamming together. Him teaching me a couple things, and me just trying to get better at guitar so I can uh, play to the standard that I'd like to. Um, but as far as music taste goes, um, it's all over the place, man.
mm.
I'll listen rap, '90s rap, to bluegrass, to indie folk, to pretty much anything. Anything
Not
that just
not that indie folk, my boy. Not that indie folk.
oh oh my goodness, Mumford and Sons. Am I right?
Talk about it, Mr. Murphy. But I guess the last question before I open up the floor to you is think back to a time there you felt transformed. How did you change and why?
Transformed. The 30 days I spent in a rehabilitation facility
Mm,
that parents sent me to when I was at the worst with my drug abuse. Those 30 days were so transformative in how I viewed the world and how I viewed my family and how I viewed myself, most importantly. Um, Leading up to rehab, it was just different drugs all the time, every day, whatever I could get my hands on, no matter how much they cost. As long as I could get a buzz, I didn't care what I
mm,
was losing. It, and I had no regards for or no respect for my family's house and my family around me. Just doing terrible things in my own room with my door closed while they're all laughing and having fun and going to bed and everything. Um, so when that finally caught up to me and they caught me for whatever time it was, they said, "All right, that's it. We're sending you somewhere. You obviously have a problem." And I
mm,
did. And I went into it knowing that I had a problem. So I was willing to at least give it a shot. The first week of rehab, I got there and I was withdrawing off everything and I was just pissed off at the world and I was mad at everybody. I didn't speak to anybody. I didn't talk during meetings and during the, the exercises we did. But then one day I finally spoke up and said some stuff that I haven't told anyone before, and I just broke down in front of everybody, and that was
mm,
the first I got vulnerable in front of peers, in front of people my own age. Like I said, I never really had these kind of conversations with my friends from high school, so this was the first time I actually got vulnerable and told people my actual problems and what I was struggling with other than just substance abuse.
mm.
That was the first time that I felt a weight lifted off my shoulders of all the stuff I was holding inside me. It was like a metaphorical explosion almost.
Mm.
And, and by the time I got out of rehab, I've just felt like I felt light. I felt
That's
like I was in a flow state. My my parents came and picked me up. They came into the rehab and met all my peers and how everyone was saying they were gonna miss me and sad to see me go, but they were happy to see me go. And just to see my mom and dad smile for the first
mhm,
time in a long time was a special treat, and it made me realize that I needed to do something different and that I needed to respect what my parents were telling me, even though if I don't, even to this day, that I don't agree completely with how they handle this type of situation. Um, and so rehab was 100% the best thing for me, and it 100% made me who I am today. And it also showed me how to be mature.
mm,
And people tell me all the time, for my age, they feel like I carry myself pretty well, and I give that all to the workers that and the counselors that I had at my rehab down in Georgia, and I miss them, man. They were great. They were those are some other people that inspired me for sure.
so before I ask the final closing question, open up the floor to you to either ask me any questions or pose a question back to the listeners of the David and the Bear podcast.
Hmm, what's a question? I want to ask you a question, Devon. Um, what's a good question for you, Devon?
No, I can't stand up. This
Yeah, I'm just turn the tables on you. What last question you gave me? What was a time where you felt transformed and why, Devon?
I guess we can go I guess we're gonna go heavy then. Um, I think it was so I was living with my uncle for 3 years. Covered that in the previous episode of the podcast. I believe episode two. But I was living with them, and I think I I I had gotten caught for watching some adult movies,
Sure.
and my uncle never did hit us or anything like that. That was the first and last time that he hit us, and or that he had hit me. just seeing the amount of pain and distraught in my uncle's face was like,
Mhm.
I really gotta stop doing this, bro. Like, I'm a very big people pleaser. I if I'm not if I can't please you, then I'll find a way. Like, don't hold on, don't clip this and like take this out of context or anything like that. um, but
Yeah.
like I'm a very big people pleaser. Um, and making people happy is what I love to do. So like hearing the words like, "Oh, I'm so disappointed in you," like not like people being mad at me and all that kind of stuff, that's all right. But hearing like, "Oh, I'm so disappointed in you, Devon, you made me disappointed and whatnot," that's those words hit home for me. So
Mhm.
like seeing my uncle's face with pretty much a look of disappointment on it when he had caught me, um, kind of like changed me in a sense of like these people are trying to love me and I'm not being I'm not being in a space I'm not in a space where I'm showing that I want to be loved. And I think
Mhm.
that's kind of where I changed in the fact of like, hey, you're gonna have people in your life that love you. You're gonna have people in your life that want to be there for you and take care of you. You also have in my head, I made it I made it out to myself where it's like I also have to be able to be loved by these people and allow myself to be loved and put
Mhm.
myself in a position that I'm worthy of pretty much their love, pretty much.
Sure.
Because I think one of those things, it kind of hit home where it's like sometimes we don't allow ourselves to be loved, but then other times it's like we're not worthy of the love anyway. So you have to think about how you're affecting that person before you start, oh yeah, he was so bad to me and she was so like, were you even worthy of his love? Or were you even worthy of her love type of thing? So all that to say, that's when I felt transformed. Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being
um
vulnerable. That was good.
oh, for sure, for sure. um the closing question, as I always ask at the end of the podcast, is what's one piece of advice you can share with the listeners of the David and the Bear podcast?
Mm, some advice. Just find what makes you tick. Find what makes you smile, even if it makes you smile for half a second.
Mm.
Because smiling for half a second is better than frowning for half a second.
Oh, for sure.
So whether it be music, whether it be writing poems, or running for some reason, whatever it is, do what makes you happy, and don't worry what other people would think. Because if it makes you happy, it doesn't matter what other people think.
Just snap for that. Snap for that. To be honest, it's it was another great episode, everybody. I appreciate you, Jacob, for coming out onto the podcast. Um,
Thanks for having me, D.
I- I'll be seeing you next week, Friday, for sure. Or I actually go back to work Thursday.
You know I'm
So,
here. You know I live here.
but yeah. So, like I said, guys, his name is Jacob. He's ladies, he's single too. So, yeah,
Don't
be
even.
sure. Nah. Just jokes. Just, but he is single. But he's single, ladies. So, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, he's a great guy.
Anyways, come on now.
He's a great guy. He's a great guy. He's an amazing individual. His story, I've heard more of his story. Hopefully we're able to get him back on here to speak a little deeper into his childhood and all that kind of stuff. But overall, he's a guy that I can consider a true friend. So once again,
Likewise.
appreciate you, Jacob. Be seeing you
Yes, sir.
Friday, and thank you for tuning in to the David and the Bear podcast. Thank you for listening to the David and the Bear podcast, where every story ends in victory. Yes, sir.